Shah, right? This brother Aliyah, New Wine Congregation, right? So today we're gonna get into I'm going into the feast dedication, right? History on the Hasmonean Dynasty, right? Things of that such, right? So first we're gonna start off with the book of Colossians. Let's go to the book of Colossians real fast. Book of Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. We're gonna get that real fast. All right, so the book of Colossians chapter 3, verse 17, and it reads, whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Yahweh Shai, right? Giving thanks to Yahweh and the Father by him, right? So whatever we do, right, we do it in the name of Yahweh Shai, right, which is our King, our Savior, right? And then we always giving thanks to Yahweh, our Heavenly Father, right? So whatever we do it in the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, in word or deed, right? So we want to start off with a little bit of history, right? So we're gonna go into the beginning, right? So first you have the history of the Hasmonean Dynasty. See, before you have the feast dedication, you gotta understand about the Hasmonean Dynasty, right? So the Hasmonean Dynasty before the Hasmonean Dynasty there was the Onad family, right? The Onad family, right, was from Onias, right? He was a high priest, right? Which you read about in Second Maccabees chapter 3, right? Let's get that real fast. Right, let's get that real fast. Second Maccabees chapter 3. Right. Right, it says, let's jump down. Second Maccabees chapter 3. Let's go to let's start at we can start at verse 1. It says, from Second Maccabees 3:1, it says, now, when the holy city was inhabited with all peace, and the laws were kept very well, because of the godliness of Onias, the high priest, and his hatred for wickedness. Right? So before you had before Mattathias and his sons came on the scene, you had high priest Onias, right, which was beautiful was a mighty man through the spirit, right, and he hated wickedness, right. So after that, and that was around 200 BC, right. So after that, you have Mattathias. Then Mattathias, he comes on the scene, right, and when you a good place to cite the resources about the site information about the Onad family, you can go into the Britannica, right? The Britannica website and just look into that as well, right? That's the source that I cited for about to get information about the Onad family, right? But let's go into Mattathias is on the scene, right? So let's go to Second Maccabees chapter 2, verse 1. All right, let's go there real fast. All right. So this Second Maccabees chapter 2 and verse number 1. Right. So like I don't even want to get them. I'm kind of jump ahead. First, I'm gonna read. I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, "In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John." Right, chapter 2, verse 1. It says, "In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest, and of the sons of Jorah from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin." Right, so Mattathias, he was a Levite. Right, so it says, and he had 5 sons: Jonathan, called Cadis, Simon's, called Thassus, Judas, who is called Maccabeus, right? Eleazar, called Arian, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphis, right? So that's when Mattathias, right, which is the father of the Maccabee brothers, right? That's when he's on the scene, right? So this is around. Matter of fact, I got a chart right here. All right, chart. I'm gonna bring out this chart on this. Let me move this out the way, right? From the Christian study Bible, right? And on this chart right here, right? We can get into it, right? This chart, right? It mentions Mattathias right there at the top, right? So it says, around it says around 165 BC, 165, 67 BC. This is when he came on the scene, right? As in, this when he kind of took things over. It says, aged priests living at Modin defied the order to offer a sacrifice in homage to Antiochus the fourth, right? And it says died in 1666 BC, right? So that's going into Mattathias, right, on the scene, right? Which was a valiant man, right? Very valiant man, stood 10 toes down for the law, right? So now after him, right, you had his son Judas, right? Let's go into it. Let's go into that. Judas, let's go to First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 42, right? So you have Judas, right, which he's the first son to stand up, right, after the death of his father, right? And this is around and this also shows this is around this is 166 BC, right? So we're gonna go to First Maccabees chapter 4, and we go to verse 42. It says, so he chose priests of blameless conversation. All right, hold on, let's start at verse 41. All right, then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, right, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So this is going into Judas. That's not what I wanted though. That's not what I wanted. But that's going into Judas setting up men in different positions, right? But I want to get the precept when he came on the scene. Right, let's see if I can get that real fast. All right. Yeah, this is third Maccabees chapter. It's First Maccabees chapter 3. It says, then his son Judas, called Maccabeus, right, rose up in his stead, right. So we in First Maccabees. We in First Maccabees, right, which is a part of Apocrypha. Right, so it says that Judas, after his father, right, Judas stood up in his stead, right, and all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father, and they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel, right? So, right, let's get some let's see if we can get some stuff, right? So what you have here is this is some selected events, right, from the Maccabean revolt, right? So here we have it. Right, this is we have a couple, like a picture right here, right? It's a map, right? A map, right? You can screenshot that if you can, right? A map of different battles, right? In the Maccabean revolt, right? So let's put that to the side, right? And let's put that to the side, right? And let's go into his death, right now. So So this is just a brief history on the Hasmonean Dynasty. So after his death, right, his death is mentioned in First Maccabees chapter 9, right? So boom, and he reigned from 166. He led Israel from 166 BC to 160 BC, right? So let's go to it. It says. Right. Let's go to where it mentioned him when he died, right? First Maccabees chapter 9, and we're gonna just go straight to the point. Verse 18. I'm gonna go to verse 17. It says, whereupon they were sore battled, insomuch as many were slain on both parts. Judas, I'm gonna start at verse 14. It says, now when Judas perceived that Bacchus and the strength of his army were on the right side, he took him with all his hardy men, who discomfited the right wing and pursued them unto the mount of Azotus. But when they of the left wing saw that they of the right wing were discomfited, they followed upon Judas and those that were with him hard at the heels from behind, whereupon there was a sore battle, insomuch as many were slain on both parts. Right, Judas also was killed, and the remnant fled. So Judas Maccabeus, right, he died as a valiant man, right? He didn't die, you know what I'm saying, in folliness, like a lot of our men do nowadays, that they die in the streets, right? Dying for a gang, or dying for a hood, or dying for they homeboy, or dying by the female. He died for his country, right? To keeping the law, statutes, commandments, right? That's what he did, right? So here's the account of when he died. So after he died, after Judas Maccabee died, right? Then you had Jonathan. Jonathan was set up after Judas, right? So we're gonna go to First Maccabees chapter 9, and we can go to we go to verse 31, right? So after Judas Maccabees, you have Jonathan, right? So it says, so upon this, Jonathan took the governance upon this First Maccabees chapter 9, verse 31. It says, upon this, Jonathan took the governance upon him at that time and rose up instead of his brother Judas, right? And you hear about and Jonathan, and he was a mighty man too, right? Let's just read let's read a couple of accounts. Let's just read a couple of accounts about Jonathan real fast. Let's read let's see what we're gonna go into. Let's jump down to verse number 48. Right? It says, no, I ain't gonna go down. I just want to read an account about Jonathan. Just an account, right? All right, yeah. So we can go to First Maccabees chapter 10, right? So it says, we can go to verse 7. Then came Jonathan to Jerusalem and read letters in the audience of all the people and of them that were in the tower, who were so afraid when they heard that the king had given him authority to gather together in hosts, whereupon they of the tower delivered their hostages unto Jonathan, and he delivered them unto their parents. This done, Jonathan settled himself in Jerusalem and began to build and repair the cities, right? And he commanded the workmen to build the walls in the Mount of Zion round about with square stones for fortification, and they did so, right? So not Judas, but Jonathan, he took part in having the city rebuild it, right? Because our city was broken down, right? So he had men rebuild the city, fortify the walls, right? And it's just one thing. This was just one thing that he did. It's many things that he did, many battles, right? We go into this right. We go into this, right? You can go into this on this map right here, this map that I have, right? It has the movements of Jonathan, right? It says here Jonathan moved to Michmash after making a truce with the Khans. Jonathan received the office of high priest and was granted control over Judea and Samaria, right? And that was in 152 BC, right? So here you have it right here, right? Y'all can see that. See that? Make it clean up. Yeah. Right there. Goes into the different movements of Jonathan and battle. Right? Right. And it says, right, and he led from 160 and 142 BC. Right? So it says the youngest son of Mattathias led a guerrilla war from the Judean deserts, eventually established a base in Michmash, right? What you read about, right there, right? It says appointed as high priest and and he was taken prisoner and executed by Seleucid Trypho, right? In 142 BC, right? We're gonna get into his death real fast. So you had Mattathias, right? Then you had Judas, you got Jonathan, right? And now during this time, right, these men was leading Israel, right, protecting Israel, right? We had enemies that feared us, right? We was fighting for our laws, right? We was doing our thing, right? We was doing our thing when these men was leading our people, right? So let's go to And another good source to learn about Mattathias is Christian Publishing House, right? That's another good source. So you got the Britannica to go to certain accounts, right? You got Christian Publishing House, right? These are two sources that you can use when going and looking into the Hasmonean Dynasty, right? And also just going to Google. They have some Wikipedia thing. They got some things on Wikipedia about it as well, right? So we're going into the death of Jonathan, right? We're going into we're gonna go to First Maccabees chapter 12 verse 48, right? To the death of Jonathan, right? So Second Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 48, it says, now as soon as Jonathan entered into Ptolemaeus, shalom. It says they of Ptolemaeus shut the gate, right, and took him, and all them that came with him they slew with the sword. Then sent Tryphon and host of footmen and horsemen into Galilee and into the great plain to destroy all Jonathan's company, right? But when they knew that Jonathan and they that were with him were taken and slain, they encouraged one another and went close together, prepared to fight. Right? And keep reading, it says, they therefore that follow upon them, perceiving that they were ready to fight for their lives, turned back again. Whereupon they all came into the land of Judea peaceably, right? And they that were bewailed Jonathan. So Jonathan, he done died at this time, right? So this is this is in 100, this is 142 BC, right? So this is going into the death, right? The death of Jonathan, right? So and all these men that we're talking about, they dying valiantly for the law, right? You got men that die for stupid stuff nowadays, but these men died for our country, right? It was not talking about dying for America, but dying for the fellow so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. They died for us, right? Trying to protect us, right? Trying to help us keep these laws, right? And stand and having order, right, in our country, right? These men said order in our country through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, of course, right? So let's go into the next one, right? So after you had Judas, now you got Simon, right? Simon called Thasses, right? He reigned from 142 BC to 135 BC, right? So here we have right here, on this right here. Y'all can see it, right? On the map. So boom, on the chart. Now we at Simon. Simon at the bottom, right? Talk about him, right? From 142 BC to 135 BC, okay? So it says the second eldest son of Mattathias gained political concession from Seleucid rulers that led into independent Jewish state, right? So this led, with him, it led to the independent Jewish state, right? This is when we had our independence, right? From all these people, right? So our independence was from 167 BC to 63 BC, right? The independence of the Jews, right? So-called blacks and Hispanics, right? The Jews, right? Well, the Jews, right? It says, not the top hats, not the small hats, but the true chosen people was from 167 BC to 63 BC. So this is the time period before Yahweh Shai came on the scene, right? So before Yahweh Shai came on the scene, you had these things going on, right? So let's go into Simon, right? Simon called Thassi, right? We're going to go to First Maccabees chapter 13 and verse 1. It says, now when Simon heard that Tryphon had gathered together a great host to invade the land of Judea and destroy it, and saw that the people was in great trembling and fear, he went up to Jerusalem and gathered people together and gave them exhortation, saying, ye yourselves know what great things I and my brethren and my father's house have done for the laws in the sanctuary, the battles also and troubles which we have seen. So Judas, Jonathan, Mattathias, hey, these men stood 10 toes down. They gave their lives for the commandments, for the sanctuary, right, for the people, right? They did that. They did their thing, right? So it says, by reason whereof all my brethren are slain for Israel's sake. Right? His brother was slain for Israel's sake. Right? And I am left alone. Right? He said he left alone. But what happens when he say that? Am I left alone? Does he kind of take that and kind of just wimp out, right? Get sad and just lay down his life? Or what he do? Right? It says, now therefore be it far from me that I should spare my own life in any time of trouble, for I am not better than my brethren. Right? It says, doubtless I will avenge my nation in the sanctuary, and our wives, and our children, for all the heathen are gathered to destroy us in a very malice. So when he found out, like, hey man, my brother done died, man. Well, what am I to do? Am I to give my own life? Am I to give my life, right, to spare my own life? Right? Should I spare my life? Or should I go out like my brothers did? So he said, I'm going to go out like my brothers did, right? My father did, right? For the laws, for the sanctuary, for our lives, for our children, right? And we got to do that in the spirit, right? We got to be going 10 toes down for the Lord, right? Giving our life for these laws, for the commandments, right? Let's go to First Maccabees, man. Hey, we gotta get ready for the feast of dedication, man. And getting ready for the feast of dedication, you gotta understand what was going on at the time, right? What was going on, man? Let's go to First Maccabees chapter 2. Let me go to verse 50. It says, now therefore, my sons, be zealous for the law, right? Be zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers, right? So we got to give our lives for the law, statutes, commandments, right? It's not something that we sit here and we kind of like, oh yeah, man, we just got to keep the commandments and that's it, man. We gotta want to give our lives for these things, man. Right? You got some people that they take offense to keeping the commandment. Oh no, why I gotta do that? Why I gotta put on fringe? Why I gotta keep the Sabbath day holy? Why I gotta keep the high holy days? Right? They take offense to this. Right? And we gotta love these commandments so much. Right? We gotta delight in the commandments so much that we'll die for it, that we'll give our lives for it. Right? Let's go to let's get another camp. Let's go to Psalms, man. Right? Book of Psalms, chapter 1. Right? In verse number 2, it says, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, in the law in his law doth he meditate day and night. Right? So a wise man, his delight, he gonna delight in keeping these laws. He gonna love keeping these laws. Right? Let's go to Psalms chapter 40. Psalms chapter 40, man. We got to see what kind of spirit we need to be in, man. Not only when it's the time of the feast dedication, but you should be in this type of spirit every day, right? You should want to die for these laws every day, right? You should want to keep the commandments to the best of your abilities and die for them and love them, right, every day, right? Let's go into this, right? So let's go to Psalms chapter 40, verse 8. It says, I delight to do thy will, oh my God, yea, thy law is within my heart. So you gotta have the law in your heart, your mind, man. Your mind. When you got the law in your heart, right? That's the type of spirit to have. You got the lie, you got the law so deep in your mind, in your heart, that you ready to die for this. You ready to give your life for this, right? But this is the spirit that our forefathers had, right? It wasn't no taking no L's. It wasn't no, oh, well, guess I gotta break this. No, they stood 10 toes down to keep the commandments, man, and die for them, right? So let's go to and then another thing too. They got an account. Let's go to Second Maccabees chapter 13 real fast. Cause Simon, let's go to it. All right, so we got after him. You got John Harnicus, right? John Harnicus, the son of Simon Thassi, right? So after Simon dies, right, his son rises up after him, right? But I wanted to get this account, the account of the day of Simon. Let me see if I can find this real fast. Well, if I find it, we can get into it, right? But if I don't find it, then it's all good. But there's actually a day, a memorial day that our forefathers kept, right, which is the day of Simon, right, which is in I'm trying to find this right quick. Salakia. I mean, I had it in my notes, but guess I didn't add it in there. Let me see. If I find it, I'll get it. But if not, then I'm gonna keep it on. I'm gonna keep it moving. Right? If not, I'm gonna keep it moving. But you actually had a day of Simon, man, a mighty day. Yes, it's in First Maccabees. I gotta find it, but I ain't gonna. If I can't find it, I ain't gonna worry about it because I want to get into this history. You know what I'm saying? But Lord willing, I can find that. But so after you have the reign of Simon, right? So his reign was 142 to 135 BC, right? Oh, the water. First Maccabees chapter 13, verse 51. Let's get that, right? First Maccabees chapter 13, verse 51. And entered into it the 23rd day of the second month in 171 year with thanksgiving. Hold on, let's go. Let's read up. Let's read up to verse 48. No, I'm going to read that verse 47. So Simon was appeased towards them and fought no more against them, but they put them out of the city and cleansed the house wherein the idols were. And so enter into it with songs and thanksgiving. Right? We got to make sure that we cleanse our houses, right? We got to make sure our temples are cleansed, right? Cleansed from idolatry, fornication, concupiscence, right? Hatred, covetousness, right? We got to make sure our house is clean through the Spirit, right? Yea, he put all uncleanness out of it and placed such men there as would keep the law and made it stronger than it was before and built therein a dwelling place for himself, right? So we got to put all uncleanness out of our lives, right? Out of our households, right? You men, make sure that your household has no uncleanness in it, right? Make sure your wife, she makes sure that she's in order, right? The children in order, right? And you women, if you're not married, make sure that you're in order. You know what I'm saying? Right? So it says they also of the tower in Jerusalem were kept so straight that they could neither come forth nor go into the country, nor buy, nor sell, wherefore they were in great distress for want of victuals, and great number of them perished through famine. Then cried they to Simon, beseeching him to be at one with them, which thing he granted them, and which he had put them out from thence. He cleansed the tower from pollutions, and entered in the 23rd day of the second month, in the 172 with thanksgiving and branches and palm trees, and with harps and cymbals, and with vows and hymns and psalms, because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel. Right? So it says he ordained also that day should be kept every year with gladness. Right? So we talking about the day of Simon, right? So that's beautiful spirit. But I just want to bring that out just to bring up bring out an account or one of the acts of Simon, right? He was one of our mighty forefathers, right? So after the death of him, right, you have John Hyrcanus, right? So we gonna read about him, right? So John Hyrcanus, right? And we talk about we read about him in you can read about him in First Maccabees chapter 16, right? Because let's go into the death of Simon, right? So it says, let's go to First Maccabees chapter 16 and verse number 1. It says, then came up John from Gazra and told Simon his father what Sybius had done. Wherefore Simon called his two eldest sons, Judas and John, and says to them, I and my brother and my father's house have ever from our youth unto this day fought against the enemies of Israel, then things have prospered so well in our hands that ye have delivered Israel oftentimes. But now I am old, and yea, by God's mercy are of a sufficient age. Be ye instead of me and my brother, and go and fight for our nation, and the help of the heathen be with you. Right? So basically, let me read to it. Let me jump down. Let's jump down to verse number 14. Now Simon was visiting the cities that were in the country of taking care of the good ordering of them, at which he had came down himself to Jericho with his sons Mattathias and Judas in 167 year of the 11th month, called Sabbath, right? Sabbath, where the son of Abidas receiving them deceitfully into a little hole called Docus, which he had built, right? And a lot of the heathen, right? You got to be careful with these heathen, man. That's why I tell you never to trust thine enemies, right? Because they'll deceive you. They will deceive you. Let's go to the precept. Let's go to the precept. You got a lot of people, they really trust the so-called white man. They trust the so-called Chinese man. All these heathen, they trust these people, man. Lord tell you not. They said never trust thine enemies, man. Let's see. Right? It says, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 12, verse 2. Chapter 12, verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, man. You can never trust your enemy, man. You can't trust these devils. You can't trust these heathen. Man, they'll deceive you, man. They will literally deceive you and get you killed, right? But let's keep going, right? So it says, deceitfully in a little hole called Docus, right? We back at First Maccabees, chapter 16. We have verse 15 right now. Which he had built, made them a great banquet, howbeit he had hid men there. So when Simon and his sons had drunk largely, Ptolemy and his men rose up and took their weapons and came upon Simon to the banquet place and slew him and his two sons and certain of his servants. Right? So that's going into the death of Simon. Right? So Simon, he got off, man, right? Because he got deceived by the heathen, right? That's why it's very important in the parable that we don't get deceived in these days, right? So let's go to let's jump down to verse 21. Now one had run afore to Gaza and told John, right, that his father and his brethren were slain, and Ptolemy hath sent to slay thee also. Hereof, when he heard, he was sore astonished. So he laid hands on them that were come to destroy him and slew them, for he knew that they sought to make him away. Right? And as concerned the rest of the acts of John and his wars and worthy deeds, which he did in the building of the walls, which he made in his doings, behold, these are written in the chronicles of his priesthood from the time that he was made high priest after his father. Right? So now, so you had, so this is a timeline, right? You had Mattathias, right? Then you had Judas, you had Jonathan, you got Simon. Right now, Simon has died, right? So let's go to Hyrcanus, right? Hyrcanus, right? That's the son of Simon, right? And he reigned, and he stood right in rulership from 135 BC to 104 BC, right? Let's see if let's read up on it right quick. Right? So this is the Hasmonean rulers right here. Right? So on this graph, right, you got Hasmonean rulers. Hasmonean rulers right here. Right? See that? Y'all can screenshot. This is from a Christian study Bible. If y'all know this, it's an illustrated study Bible, right? It's CSB, right? Christian Standard Bible, right? But just got some illustrations in it, right? So check that out. Right, it's going into got some dates in it, got pictures, a couple things up in here, man. Right? So it says, son of Simon, right, last of the Maccabean brothers conquered Medeba, Idumea, Samaria, and Joppa. Pharisees and Sadducees first appear in his reign, right? So after that, right? You got Astribulus, right? And these accounts that we're talking about, right? You can research these, right? Like I said, you got the Britannica, you got Christian public house, right? And just you can Google into it, you know what I'm saying? But also good to have secondary sources. So one of my secondary sources, right, is the Christian Study Bible that has illustrated things about it, right? And it talks about these Astribulus, right? His son, right, the oldest son of John Hernicus, right, eliminated all but one of his brothers in securing his rule. Upper Galilee conquered during his reign. First Hasmonean to use the title king, right? So that was from 104 BC to 103 BC. His reign wasn't long, right? So you have a list of names, right? So let's go into the next name, right? Like I said, we get into a little bit of history, man. Today we going into some history. You got to get into the history, right? You got to know about the history, man. You got to get in history as well, right? You got to be studious in all things, right? This is not a scripture say study to show thyself approved, right? You got to study, right? Just study. Just go into just. All right, I'm getting into. I see the scripture right here. You got to you got to dig deep, right? Hey, find a different source. Get these historical accounts, right? So this the account of the Hasmonean rulership, right? So look at these names, right? These are the names right here. Now I want y'all to pay attention to the one at the bottom, right? Because this one at the bottom is where things get kind of shaky, right? That one right there, right? So you got Hernicus the second and Astribulus the second, right? So these sons, let's read about this right quick. It says, rival sons of Solomon Alexandra, right? It's Aristobulus. This name is kind of hard for me, but anyway, supported by Sadducees, seized power over Hernicus, right? The second, the Idumea governor Antipater, right? Used now this dude, right? Idumean governor Antipater. This is the forefather of Herod. So we're seeing how, right, you had all these mighty brothers on the scene, right? Judas Maccabees, right? His brothers, right? Simon, Jonathan, even Simon's son, John, right? Hernicus, right? Now you have along the line around 67 to 63 BC, you got these two brothers. Now these two brothers was rivals, right? And this is the thing, and this is the sad thing. In Israel, right? You always got somebody throughout history hating on somebody else, right? Saul felt some way about David, right? He wanted to overthrow David. He was hearing about how David was getting all that praise, right? And he kind of let's kind of get that account, right? These brothers are moving in that same kind of spirit, man, which is off, right? You don't need to be trying to overthrow your own brother, trying to overthrow your fellow Israelite. That's off, right? Trying to overthrow your fellow Israelite, man. That is off. Right? So you had people that was moving in that spirit, right? Trying to overthrow their fellow Israelite brothers. Right? Weird, man. Alright, let's see if we can find this account real fast, right? Alright. Let's see this. Let's see this. Alright. All right. All right. Let's go to this. This is the book of 1 Samuel chapter 18 and verse. We're gonna go to verse number 6. And it came to pass as they came when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the women came out all the city of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul with tabrets and with joy and with instruments of music. And the women answered one another, and they played and said, Saul have slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. Right? And Saul was very wroth, right? And saying, then the saying displeased him and said, they have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me have ascribed but thousands. What can he have more but the kingdom? Right? So Saul started having hatred. Right? It's just madness, man. It's just madness. Why are you wrong that they're praising your fellow brother? Hey, it's okay. You the king. What? At this moment in time, he's the king. He's the king, right? And you have a David, one of your warriors. You over him, right? One of your warriors, they just praising your warriors, saying he slayed 10,000. Now you getting mad. Why they saying all this about him, right? That's off. That's off, right? You should be glad. Oh, hey, look, hey, look at my, hey. You know what I'm saying? Be happy for your brother, right? But don't be a hater, right? So, anyways, what you had is that same spirit, right, with Hernicus II and Astribolus, right, the second, right? You had the same type of spirit, but with that type of spirit going on, it caused them to be overthrown, right? Because what happened was you had one of those brothers that end up getting down with Idumean Antipater, right, which is the forefather of Herod, right? King Herod, that heathen, man, right? So how he ended up getting into play, right, getting into rulership is because of that, right? So he ended up, and what happened was, it's a whole crazy story, right? Got to get into it, right? So let's see what we got here. So it says, we got right here, so all right, let's see what it says. I want to get the account that it was talking about it, right? So let's go into it. I'm just reading it, so like it, bear with me, so I can find this account, right? I'm gonna just read what I was reading out earlier, but it talks about it says the Idumean governor Antipater used the Nabateans in an attempt to restore Hernicus to power. Pompey intervened in the dispute, right? So this again, I'm going into the this is his Bible right here. This is the illustrated Bible. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm going into that right there, right? So let's go. Let's see if we can find this. Let's see if we can find this. Shoot, just a second. Let's see if we can find it. If we can't find it, you know what I'm saying, I'm just gonna go continuing on going into the accounts. Right now, this is just going into the rise in Rome and things like that. Let's see if they mention what I want to find though. Right. Well, it does mention Pompey, the dude that was just mentioned in that same thing, but it's not going into what I wanted to go into. Right. It's going into different things. If they don't have it on there, then I ain't gonna worry about it. Right? I ain't gonna worry about it. But basically the thing is the last one in rulership was Hernicus II and Astribolus the second. They was the last one in rulership in the Hasmonean Hasmonean Dynasty. Right? They was the last ones. So I want to see if I get some more accounts. If I can't get no more accounts of that, we're gonna go into the second part of going to the feast dedication. Right? But before we had got into the feast dedication, right, I want to give a couple like a little historical background of the time period of the Hasmonean Dynasty, right, which is our history, right? And you should want to know about your history because they don't tell you about our history in school, right? All they just talk about us being slaves. They talk about us picking cotton. They talk about, your Martin Luther King, Thurgood Marshall, Maya Angelou, and all these different names, but you never hear about these people. You never hear about Judas Maccabees, right, in school, Mattathias, Simon, Jonathan. You don't hear about these things, right? So here is history 101, right, about the Hasmonean Dynasty, right? From the beginning of it, right, talking about Mattathias, right, to his sons, right, to Simon. Then he have his son John Hernicus, right, from John Hernicus down to Hernicus II, right, and Astribolus, right. And after those people, after they rivaled and they started dealing with that Dumian, Antipater, right, the forefather of King Herod, right? Hey, that was it. It was a wrap for us, right? And there's more history on that. Lord willing, I could get this StreamYard thing set up because there's more accounts and stuff that I want to bring out. But Lord, when I get this StreamYard set up, and I'm gonna go in depth, even the more, right, on that, right? Lord willing, Lord willing. So let's get into the feast dedication, right? Let's get into that. It's time to talk about that. Let's talk about that. The feast dedication, right? So we're gonna go to we're gonna start this thing off with we're gonna go 2 Maccabees chapter 2 first. All right. Let's go into this thing. The feast dedication, right? So we did the groundwork, right? We went into the history, right? Now we finna go into the feast dedication, right? So now this is during the time of let's see, this is during the time of Judas Maccabees, right? The time of Judas Maccabees. We didn't cover right his time, his reign, right? Who reigned after him? So let's go into during his time what was going on, right? This is when the feast dedication came about, right? So it says it says now concerning Judas Maccabees, right? This 2 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 19, right? It says, now concerning Judas Maccabees and his brethren in the purification of the great temple and the dedication of the altar, right? The dedication of the altar, right? So we're going to get into, right, the account, right? So let's get into the account of this thing, man, how I get kind of crazy. So we're going to go to the first Maccabee, but I want to bring that account about the dedication. So let's get the in-depth account. So we're going to go to 2 Maccabees chapter 4, and let's go to verse, let's start at verse 36, right? This is, now we're shifting, right? We're going into the feast dedication now, right? So we had to do the groundwork, right? We got into the history, right? The different rulers and things like that. Now we're going into the feast dedication, right? So let's go into it, right? Matter of fact, I think I might end this live on the Hasmonean Dynasty, and then I'm gonna start up another one, just going into the feast dedication. I think that's how I'm gonna do that, right? Just going into that, I'm gonna just title this history on the Hasmonean Dynasty, right? And then I'm gonna title the next one feast dedication. A whole video just going into the feast dedication, right? That's what I'm gonna do through the Spirit. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna shut this live down, right? About to revamp up, right? We just went into the history of the Hasmonean Dynasty. Right now, we finna go into the feast dedication. All right. So with that, I want to give our honor and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Right. Shalom.